Hello, everybody, as we continue the Superstars of Wrestling review series. The 8th of June, 1991 is your edition here. We are a couple of months away from SummerSlam, probably about 2.5 months away from SummerSlam. SummerSlam 91, the 88, 89, 90, 91 fourth edition of SummerSlam for the World Wrestling Federation, and as is to be expected, they move quite a bit through, some pretty intense storyline stuff here. Um, it's also pretty basic, nothing, terribly impressive, but we see more of the Berserker, more of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and other things. The Big Boss Man, still a big fixture in the area, of course, off the angle of his involvement with the Mountie. Lots of punches, lots of kicks, the gut across the leap across the middle rope throat, and the Mountie is unimpressed with any of this. We see a spinebuster and a Big Boss Man slam, 1, 2, 3. We go into update, several minutes, probably close to 7 or 8 minutes dedicated to the same thing we saw last week with Andre the Giant. Jake Roberts, though, chimes in and says the measure of a man is to jump him from the front, not behind. Odd to see Roberts kind of standing up for Jake, or Roberts standing up for Andre after their feud a couple years ago, but strange bedfellows have been made before and will be made again in wrestling. Also, the idea to have Andre second Jake around the country so he could still travel was a thing. Slick and the Warlord out next. Easy for me to say. Warlord really not doing terribly much with himself. Punches, kicks, and a suplex or two on Red Tyler. Red Tyler, a multi-time enhancement talent here. No big surprise that he would get beat up and manhandled. Warlord unimpressed, and Tyler actually takes a flip bump. The win by the Warlord is by the full Nelson, and the power struggle continues between him and the British Bulldog eventually through the summer. King Haku, former King Haku, that is, out there speaking Tonganese to Bobby Heenan. Heenan basically just says, I asked him if he was afraid of anything. He said no, even after Haku went on speaking for about 90 seconds. Bret Hart says he wants a singles championship. He'll go through anyone to get there, anything to do it. Speaking of soon-to-be singles championship, British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith probably about a year and some months away, 14 months maybe, away from the Intercontinental Championship, but he's still hunting for it with Mr. Perfect here in 1991. Body slam, snap mares, basic stuff. Match goes a little long as Davey actually holds on to a chinlock for quite a while. Vertical suplex snapped up and a power slam, and Winston the dog is happy to see a winning Davey Boy Smith. Davey, throughout the interviews in the last few months, has been saying he's undefeated. Not sure how true that is, but it's true enough that people believe it for house show purposes, I guess. The Berserker John Nord out there, punch kick, hit his opponent in the face with a kick, and then dumps the young man over the top rope to the floor before jumping out onto him on the floor. Mr. Fuji directing all this traffic. Berserker doesn't get his first feud for a little while, kind of wandering around figuring out what we're going to do with him. Speaking of figuring out what we're going to do, Greg Valentine is here. He talks about not being held back by Jimmy Hart anymore, being able to think for himself finally. The Nasty Boys, though, seem happy with their involvement with Jimmy Hart as they rant and rave and carry on about being an undefeated tag team and a tag team that can't be beaten. Speaking of can't be beaten, the fire-blowing skills of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat up next in an enhancement match. Before an enhancement match, honestly. Chop by Steamboat, and the enhancement talent falls down almost after the chop. Cut off there for a minute or two, doesn't really get him anywhere. Clotheslines and chops and body slams by Steamboat. Steamboat using still a bit of the martial arts gimmick while still doing the fire-breathing thing. Top rope cross body by Steamboat for the win, and he looks like $1 million. Paul Bearer encourages attendance to the funeral parlor this time. His invited guest is the IRS. Basically, the IRS says that everyone in the WWF and the world has been put on notice. There's a lot of questions about taxes, and IRS says that most Americans are cheaters. He puts the people in the WWF on notice as well. We see a promo for the upcoming Sid Justice, aka Sid Vicious, aka Psycho Sid. In the months and weeks to come, we see several people talking about the benefits of Sid coming to the area, but we see an enhancement talent here. Bob Bradley against Virgil. Virgil bouncing around like a boxer would, light on his feet, etc. and so forth. Virgil hits an enziguri, among other things, which if Virgil can do it, I've lost respect for how hard I thought that move was, because Virgil's certainly not very coordinated. He shuffles like a boxer and then knocks down his opponent before putting him to sleep with Ted DiBiase's old hold, the $1,000,000 Dream. Sergeant Slaughter makes his way out next. Former WWF champion is rather unimpressed and unimpressive, even though he's got Colonel Adnan LKC, or General Adnan LKC, and the Colonel Mustafa clothesline by Slaughter doesn't really look like a former champion much in this particular match, and I think that's one of the things that they've done really poorly is keep Slaughter protected after winning. Anyway, Camel Clutch, Slaughter gets a victory there, and we're headed towards the WBF Bodybuilding Federation thing. We're also headed towards the Warrior, hyping it, and he does so here. The WBF, I believe, is the next Saturday, and ultimately the event center continues to yammer on about that. Fuji talks about torturing Kato and Tanaka. Tugboat says the challenge is in the WWF. The tides are rising high. He's not intimidated in the very least by any of this, and he is more than happy to take on whoever is coming his way. Of course, that'll change in the next couple of weeks, but it's good here and now. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.